And we are here with you on Facebook Live on facebook.com/livenowdt. We appreciate you hanging out with us here in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, happening every single Wednesday during the second hour of the show. We thank you so much for hanging out with us and having some fun with us inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. The Cafe Kubal Studios here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time minimally. And today, as always, in Wednesday's second hour, myself and Mike Sofka, where you see the bust of him that's in the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame. Myself and Mike Sofka offering you fantasy football advice on all Week 4 games for the NFL inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not a Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of, but the one that you need to be listening to and watching. Proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. With that being said, let's bring the man of the hour into the broadcast. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing today?
I'm doing incredible. How are you?
I'm doing well, and we missed you there in a sec, so how are you doing again?
Incredible. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible, Mr. Mike Sofka. Mike, what are you excited about? First 3 weeks, before we hop into anything, we got to give our shout-outs to our winners, and we'll do that in a second inside of the Wake Up Call Fantasy Football Leagues, the Marywood Alumni League, the Florida League that you and I are in for now our decade, this being the 10-year anniversary, and, of course, the leagues here in Central New York at the Wildcat Sports Pub. Before we get to that, what are you most excited about through 3 weeks?
Well, I'm most excited about that we've had 3 weeks. I mean, there was a time not long ago where we didn't even know if we were going to have a season. So I know there's a couple games possibly in jeopardy this weekend, primarily the Titans and the Steelers. But it's just a good thing. It's good to have football back. It was interesting to see they actually had the photo. It was the first time in NFL history there was a female coach on either team as well as a female ref in the game. They got a picture together. That was nice to see. And it's just, even though it's kind of weird watching when you know that there's no real fans there, it's good to have football back. It's good to have, I don't know, I consider it normalcy. I consider it to be the normal. If you have football, everything's okay. If you don't have football, not so much.
Yeah, it's crazy to, see obviously what we've been through these last few months, but to have football back, like you said, it's just good to see it. It's good to know that it's here, and, it's good to have the opportunity. So I very much appreciate the fact that the NFL figured out a way to get it done, and for the most part, we've been safe. My prayers and my well wishes go out to everybody dealing with any issues, including coronavirus, and including the Tennessee Titans, and many blessings as we move forward here. So with all of that being stated here, I do want to take a look and give a shout out to our league, so far, and I want to show some love to all the leagues that we have. So we're going to start things off here. I want to shout out everybody in the Marywood Alumni League. My team is 3-0 on the east side, saving Matt Ryan's 2-1. Chiefs Kingdom 1-2. Team SF is 0-3. On the west side, Lights Chimera Action, which is really funny because Lawrence Tompkins named his team that, and that was the name of my team in another league in Central New York for the last couple seasons. So I thought that was funny. Lights Chimera Action's 2-1. Virginia Ballers that have Josh Allen are also 2-1. Pennsylvania Sam Bell's 1-2, and the Dallas Roscoe team is 1-2 as well. So a big shout out to all of them. And the most recent winners that we have, my team won, as well as Saving Matt Ryan, the Virginia Ballers, and Lights Chimera Action all won recently. Here to go to our Gridiron Gurus League in Central New York, I want to take a look at the standings and give shout-outs here. In the east side, Team West 3-0. A team has no name 2-1. My team, home for the Galladays, 1-2. Living on Hilaire is 1-2 as well. In the west, Young, Free, and Singletary, love that name, 2-1. Binghamton CMC Sweepstakes 2-1. Team Lynch is 1-2, and the Wildcat is 0-3 as far as our scoreboard goes of this past week in the Gridiron Gurus League. Shout out to our winners, Team West, a team has no name, Team Lynch that scored over 200 points, and Young, Free, and Singletary. And then in the Captains on Call League that we have here in Central New York at the Wildcat Sports Pub, big shout out to our standings. Didn't I Get Lucky is 3-0 in the East. For Netflix and Chill 2-1. Team Fernandez 1-2. My team is having a very tough time. More Swift than your Gallup 0-3. I've had to get real creative with having Cortland Sutton, Saquon Barkley, and company on IR. The Tallahassee Hero Knowles are 2-1 in the West. Underdogs also 2-1. Team Cologne 1-2, and Team Lasher 1-2 as well. The scoreboard for Week 3. Shout out to our winners in the Captains on Call League. Team Fernandez did not get lucky. Tallahassee Hero Knowles and Team Cologne all getting victories in those leagues. And then the Cuse Contenders League, Whelan and Dillon is the name of my team. We'll take a look at our standings here. And in the East, we have Piehole 2-1. He beat me in a close one here. Benchwarmers 2-1. 1-2 for me. Chicks Dig the Pigskin 1-2. The crazy thing about looking at my record is when I look at my schedule, it's very frustrating for me. I lost a game 169 to 165, then 157 to 149, and it has me winning the game 168 to 163 in the other one. So yeah, 1-2 record for me, but very, very close games for me in this. And I want to give a shout out to our scoreboard winners of Week 3, that being my team, the Whelan and Dillon team, the Benchwarmers, Beeville, Horton, and the Bolt Nation E-Double that have won. And then to go to finally the league down in Florida that Mike and I are in to take a look at those standings. My Can I Go to Disney Now team is frustrating me because we're getting close, but we're not getting over the hump. In the East, we have Thielen like $1 million, as well as Buckhammer's team and Can I Go to Disney Now, which is my team. Everybody in the East Division in our Florida League in the decade anniversary, we're all 1-2. Every single one of us is 1-2. Essentially, we're the NFC East. And so it's funny that we're the East. We might as well just put the NFC East as our division, as nobody has a winning record. We're all 1-2. In the West, Name Change in Progress is 3-0. Neon Icons 2-1. The TSR Gigaxians 1-2. In the North, Lando Lagoon is 2-1. Orlando Breakers 2-1. Team Elite is 2-1. And then in the South, Wicked Leicester 2-1. Mike's team, the Orlando Fat Gators 1-2. And the SCW are 0-3. Shout out to the winners that we had from Week 3 down in our Florida League. And that being the TSR Gigaxians, Buckhammer's team, Name Change in Progress, Orlando Breakers, Team Elite, and Wicked Leicester. Mike, what are your thoughts? And what do you, when you look at the Florida League in my division looks exactly like the NFC East.
Yeah, we're going to have to go in there and declare a winner. It's not going to be a type thing where it's going to be an obvious winner. We're going to have to go in there and pick one of you guys up off the floor, dust you off, prop you up for the playoffs. But it'll happen. It'll be fun.
Yeah, not happy with some of the things that are going down out there. But with all that being said, and with all of those congratulatory messages to each and every single one of you, and a shout out to all your teams, thank you for playing in the Wake Up Call Fantasy Football Challenge Leagues in Central New York at the Wildcat Sports Pub. Shout out to our Marywood League, and a big shout out to our 10-year anniversary of our Floridian Wake Up Call League. With all of that being said, Mike, it's time for us to jump into the games. And I am going to be shifting teams on the screen here. So you're going to be seeing me essentially move teams around, almost like we're jumping on a map and whatnot. So just picture this as like the election map, and I'm just moving stuff around. So that's what we're going to do as we get set here to kind of showcase what's going on and get into the Week 4. So, Mike, I'm going to hand it off to you and give you an opportunity to do this. Denver at the New York Jets. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be interesting for all the wrong reasons, and that's quite simply the quarterback play. Well, the quarterback play on both teams has been subpar, but you can't blame that on much more than injury in Denver. Brett Ripien. Remember Mark Ripien? This is his nephew, his cousin, his neph's son, something like that. Look, you're not going to start the guy anyway this week. He's my number 30 ranked quarterback, even against the miserable Jets. And you got to wonder, is Denver going to be able to run the ball? Well, they better be behind Melvin Gordon. Phillip Lindsay's still dinged up. Melvin Gordon, 18 on my rankings. The challenge has been getting a receiver to help out. But the quarterback's not doing us any favors, so maybe Jerry Jeudy is a flex play for you in emergency. Number 44 on my rankings. Cortland Sutton, of course, out for the year. And Noah Fant, he seems to be the bright spot. He's the guy that you really want. He's the guy you're going to want in daily as well. Number 10 on my rankings this week. Heading over to the Jets, Sam Darnold's been miserable. He's been abysmal. He hasn't anybody to throw the ball to either. He hasn't had a running back either, so I can't put 100% on him, but Gase is going to be playing for his job here, the coach. So Sam Darnold, number 32 ranked quarterback on my rankings. Le'Veon Bell, of course, is injured, still out on IR. 157-year-old Frank Gore, he's going to be in there trying to tote the rock. 34 on my rankings. I like LaMichael Perrine coming up. You look for him to continue to grow with this offense. And Kalen Balazs, we learned last week, he can't just jump over people. He can't just hurdle people. Leave that for Saquon. Leave that for Miles Sanders. You look stupid, Kalen Balazs. Number 61 on my rankings this week. Wide receiver, this is where the problem's been for the Jets. Maybe you have a Braxton Berrios. I hope not. He's number 62 on my rankings this week. All these other guys are hurt. Crowder's hurt. Perrine's hurt. Chris Hogan's hurt. They say Crowder's going to be back this week. I'll wait to see it. And Chris Herndon, number 17 ranked tight end on my rankings. Look, I'm looking at this game, and I don't care. I don't care who wins. I don't care out of the 0-3 teams which team finally gets in the win column. It doesn't matter to me. I'll probably go out and learn how to crochet on Thursday night instead of watching this game. That's how miserable this game's going to be. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to watch it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jets at home in an ugly game.
Yeah, this game is, I obviously in my power rankings, my preseason power rankings that I had for this year, I put the Jets as the 32 ranked team in the nation. I had them as the last team, in my opinion, the last team on the board, the New York Jets. I believe that they are the worst. I believed going into the season that they're the worst team in football, and they have not proven me wrong up to this point that they are the worst team in football, which is a great unfortunate for Jets fans, but it's a reality. So, I'm going to have to say that, in this game, and Mike, you forgot something that you said, who's going to get the first win here? These teams could tie. So, they could tie and be in that situation. So, ultimately for me, I think going to, the first team that we got to go to, which is the away team, to take a look at the Denver Broncos, There's not a lot to write home about with Denver right now. Jerry Jeudy is somebody that's hard to keep off your list. Brett Ripien is going to start. Blake Bortles is on the roster, so is Jeff Driscoll. But we're going to see Brett Ripien start. Every quarterback has their guy, so it's going to be interesting to find out who that guy is going to be. For Ripien, I would venture to say Jerry Jeudy. Know that they typically go to their running game and their wide receiver and their tight end when quarterbacks are in these situations. So we could see Brett Ripien go to Noah Fant. He's a tight end 2 on the lower end. Jerry Jeudy, I would imagine, is going to be his guy. I put him as a wide receiver 3 this week. And Melvin Gordon, because Philip Lindsay is hurt, potentially you could put him out there because they could be going to him more often than not. Not a lot of fantasy value, though, in my opinion. On the other side, for the New York Jets, almost every receiver on their depth chart is hurt. Chris Hogan, Jamison Crowder, Brashad Perriman, Jeff Smith, Denzel Mims, and Vincent Smith all injured. That leaves Braxton Berrios and Josh Malone that are not on the injury report. So I don't feel good about any of this. I can't tell you to play any Jets players. Do the Jets get their first win? I don't think so. So, in my opinion, I can't give it to the Jets. I'm going to have to say that Denver's going to win this game on the road. It's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be, I don't feel good about anything, Mike. It looks like a giant mess. So let me go with the Denver Broncos in this one. What do you have for the Colts at the Bears?
Yeah, actually, this game I like a little bit better. You take a look at what both teams have done and how they've overcome. Both teams relatively new quarterback for the team. Phillip Rivers, of course, for Indianapolis. And now we got Nick Foles for the Bears. Look, I like Indianapolis. I like them a lot. I like their defense. I like their running game. Even though Marlon Mack got hurt, Jonathan Taylor plug and played and gave us an improvement at running back. So that's good for a guy like Phillip Rivers. Look, it's hard to throw against this Bears defense. They got a heck of a defensive front. They're going to rush the quarterback really well. But Phillip Rivers, number 27 on my rankings this week, and that's because, well, his wide receivers are hurt there as well. Maybe you got a T.Y. Hilton who's slow to start this year, 24 on my ranking. Paris Campbell's down. Michael Pittman's out. Again, you got to wonder who he's going to throw the ball to. Maybe it's Jack Doyle who might make an appearance back from the injury. He's number 35 on my rankings. Mo has been the guy past couple weeks. Again, did a block beat. It's nice to see his career grow, and he's going to find a steady place in this offense thanks to his recent performance plugging in for Jack Doyle. The running game knows where your bread and butter is on this team. Jonathan Taylor, number 12 on my rankings, RB1 consideration this week. Going over to Chicago, well, not so much. Not so much for David Montgomery. Well, Tariq Cohen's out now. You're going to see some more Ryan Nall, but David Montgomery, number 19 on my rankings. Allen Robinson, number 7 on the wide receiver rankings. Maybe you can have Anthony Miller for a flex, but Jimmy Graham, the 180-year-old wide receiver, tight end. I call him a wide receiver because at times he looked like a wide receiver. He's number 19 on the tight end ranking this week. And Nick Foles, still trying to get his feet wet in this offense, but you saw what he did last week. Came back and scored 3 touchdowns, came back to win the game. I like Nick Foles, but, going up against this defense, Indianapolis is no slouch. And the fact that he hardly has any receivers as well hurts him. He's number 26 on my rankings this week. Look, I like Indianapolis in this game simply because I think they have the better of the 2 quarterbacks and the better of the 2 overall defense, and I think they have the better run game. I'm going to take Indianapolis in this one on the road.
Yeah, to take a look at this game for me, my thoughts on this. I mean, Chicago, you think about it, they're one of the undefeated teams, and out of being one of the undefeated teams in the NFL, probably to me, the most surprising one at 3-0. So I would have to say, again, this is a game where Chicago has played comeback, and they've done some good things. Mike's going with Indianapolis. I'm actually going to stick with Chicago in this one, and I'm going to stick with them and give them a slight edge because they're at home. So, to start off, Mike and I, these last couple weeks, we have been the same on a lot of our picks the majority of the time, but this week we're actually starting off totally different in this as Mike is going with the Jets in the first game, and I am going with the Broncos. And then in this game, we're seeing the fact that Mike's going to go with the Colts, and I'm going to take the Bears in the matchup. I just think the Bears, because they're at home, and, I said Nick Foles would eventually take over this season. I'm not surprised by any stretch of the imagination that he's taken over right now. Do I think it's a little bit early? No, because I didn't expect Mitch Trubisky to have a comeback game early on in the season. I got to give credit to my guy Anthony Miller out of Memphis, who has been a part of, 2 big-time comebacks for Chicago in these first 3 weeks. And as we look at it, for me, first and foremost, I'll go to the fantasy side for the Indianapolis Colts. The value here, I don't like Phillip Rivers playing up against the Bears defense. I know they only had a few points this past week because they were playing Atlanta. But, again, Atlanta has no defense. They have a whole lot of offense, and that's their best defense, but it hasn't led them to winning games. Chicago was able to beat them out, and I give Chicago credit for being able to hang with an offense that can score a bunch of points. I would say, in this game, as far as value goes, Jonathan Taylor, I look at him as an RB2. T.Y. Hilton, I look at him as a low-end wide receiver 2. Jack Doyle is a tight end 2. On the other side of it for the Chicago Bears, value-wise for me in this game, I don't think Nick Foles is a bad play in this. If you could play 2 quarterbacks, I look to that. If your quarterback is hurt, I'd also look to Nick Foles. I think he'll do some things against the Colts. I'm not worried about their defense. David Montgomery is a play in this game for me, and Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller has risen. If he's on the waiver wire or free agency, go out and get him. Anthony Miller has been a big-time late-game heroics type of player, finally starting to find his place there, hopefully in the Chicago offense, and he's done it with both quarterbacks. So I like Anthony Miller in this game more than Allen Robinson, but I think they're both potentially worth a play for you. Jimmy Graham, not really sold on him. But if you have two tight ends that you could put out there, maybe he's a low-end, mid-range to low-end tight end too for you, as I am going with Chicago in this matchup. But, Mike, we're going down the line here, and for those of you that are watching on the screen, we will go essentially, we go with the Thursday night game all the way down here. That will show you keep to the 1 o'clocks. Then we shift up here, and then we eventually bring you to Sunday night and Monday night football. So for those of you that are watching this back, after this is all recorded and done, after going live, it's an easy way for you to get to your game because we are doing them in order from Thursday night to Monday night, and we're doing the the 1 o'clocks before the 4 o'clock. So it makes it easy for you to navigate when you're trying to get to your game quickly if you're trying to make a decision on game day. So with that being said, Mr. Sofka, let's head into our next matchup here, and that next matchup on our list is going to bring us to Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Joe Burrow has done all types of things to try and get a victory for Cincinnati, but their defense is not helping him at all. He didn't lose this past week. He tied on the road in Philadelphia at 23 up. What are your thoughts on Joe Burrow, and could they get their first win against a Jacksonville team that's going on the road to Cincinnati after losing at home to Miami?
Yeah, I like Joe Burrow. I like what he's done. He's looked good. He had some interceptions. This is going to happen. Peyton Manning, I think, led the league in interceptions his rookie year. And by the way, Peyton Manning's still 0-4 against the Florida Gators. Joe Burrow is a guy, though, that you could see he's worthy of the number one pick. The way he carries himself, the way he carries that offense, the way he carries himself on the field. It's just going to be a matter of time before things start to click. Looks like he's starting to get a good relationship with T. Higgins. I give Joe Burrow the number 8 quarterback ranking this week, and that's because, he has Joe Mixon to depend on to run the ball. Jacksonville's defense has been miserable this year so far. And Joe Mixon, number 14 on the rankings for me. But the wide receivers, not so much. A.J. Green, maybe he's a flex play for you. He's number 35 on my rankings. Tyler Boyd, number 29 on my rankings this week. And T. Higgins making an appearance big time, making a splash. He's number 60 on my rankings. So, temper your expectations, but surely if you're in a dynasty league and you have Joe Burrow and or T. Higgins, you're happy with what you see as they continue to grow together. Drew Sample, number 24 on my tight end rankings. Going over to Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, number 15 on the quarterback rankings for us. And he's been able to find some guys here and there like Laviska Shenault, and James Robinson's been doing a great job running the ball. James Robinson, number 15 on my rankings as far as running backs. But the receivers have been a problem. Gardner Minshew needs DJ Chark out there because without him, they're miserable. DJ Chark, he happens to be a guy that opens things up for other players on the field. He's been injured. Keelan Cole, number 49 ranked. Chris Conley, number 66. Laviska Shenault, number 59 on my rankings. And Tyler Eifert, number 26. None of these guys are really helping the situation for Gardner Minshew. But he's going to find one or two of them. This is going to be an interesting game. This could be a high-scoring game. Cincinnati's at home. I'm going to go with the home team in this one, in the Bengals.
Yeah, Cincinnati, to me, they're doing a lot of good things. And, again, I think, offensively, Joe Burrow's put in a lot of work to try and get, a victory for this team. And, unfortunately, it just hasn't happened. But I don't think it's not because of his heroics. We saw what he did against Cleveland. I know Cleveland's not a good team, but he still had to put up points against that team, and they lost 35-30, and then he went into overtime against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I give the defense credit for not allowing anything to Philadelphia then, but I think there's a lot of good to be had here. I think the Cincinnati Bengals have something to offer, and I honestly believe that with all the issues that Jacksonville has been, Jacksonville through the first couple weeks looked pretty good, but doing what they did against Ryan Fitzpatrick, the lumberjack. The fact that the man stopped chopping wood to come out there and play quarterback and ran the ball on Jacksonville, had a rushing touchdown on Jacksonville. Having Miami put a clinic on you doesn't make you look good by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think Cincinnati's going to get their win. I like that they're at home, and Joe Burrow has been knocking at the door. Remember, Peyton Manning, I think, won one game that first season as a rookie with the Colts, and he threw, and like Mike said, And, we talk about it all the time here on the show. He threw a ton of interceptions in that season. So, I think, Joe Burrow is already looking better. I think he's got a good weapon in T. Higgins. In week 3 of the NFL, T. Higgins got his first and second career NFL touchdowns. I picked him up with all the injuries and stuff going on, and I played him. So big shout out to T for helping me out. Gardner Minshew, I'd probably leave off your list in this game. James Robinson, no matter how bad Jacksonville is playing, James Robinson's playing good. Even though they lost 31-13, he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. He's been a fantasy stud for you, the undrafted rookie out of Illinois State. So I'd keep James Robinson out there. DJ Chark, if he's able to play, he's questionable right now with a chest injury. If he's able to play, he is worth a play as a wide receiver, too. Keelan Cole, Laviska Shenault are wide receiver. I would say Laviska, a wide receiver 3, Keelan Cole maybe a wide receiver 4 if DJ Chark is not going to be playing. Tyler Eifert, because he's playing his old team, that gives him some value. I think Gardner will want to hit him, and he'll want the ball because he's going up against Cincinnati, and so is Jay Gruden. So I would say that Tyler Eifert is a low-end 1, high-end 2, because you can never underestimate the value of playing your old team and what that can be. It either goes swimmingly well or it goes horrible. I think Joe Burrow is worth the play in this game, going up against Jacksonville's defense, seeing what they allowed to Miami and Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I like Joe Burrow in this game. I like Joe Mixon as well, and I would say T. Higgins over A.J. Green as far as that goes. Drew Sample at tight end, I would say he's a high-end tight end too in this matchup. I'm going to pick Cincinnati. Next one that we got, Mike, Cleveland at Dallas. Dallas they have been competitive, but they haven't looked great. They're playing a team that hasn't looked great and hasn't been competitive. So what do you think about Cleveland at Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas doesn't play well in one-possession games, one-score games. They're 2-8 last year in one-score games, and you can't win in the NFL by being almost as good. This isn't hand grenades or horseshoes. This is football. There's no almost. There's no close. There's no, we covered the spread. Doesn't count. The spread's there to keep half the money on one side and half the money on the other side, so Vegas always wins. That's why there's a spread. It doesn't mean that you're much better than anybody else. And the Cowboys haven't proved they're better than anyone else with that in mind. You look at their record, 1-2. If I had told you preseason that they'd be 1-2, you would have laughed. Because this is a Dallas team that looks so good on paper. This is what Dallas does. There's a bunch of hype in time. Then they can't close the deal. You need to be a closer, Dallas. Coffee is for closers. Looking at Cleveland, they're not closing anybody anytime soon. Baker Mayfield, number 25 on my rankings this week. Nick Chubb, number 16. He's the guy's a stud. The guy is what he is. He's a fantasy football player stud. 16 on the rankings this week. Kareem Hunt's going to get his share, though. He's number 25. They're going to have to throw the ball, and they're going to have to throw the ball to somebody. It may be Odell Beckham. It hasn't been Jarvis Landry, I know that much. Bunch of disappointed owners. Bunch of people going to be dropping that cat. Look out in your league if people drop Jarvis Landry. Just keep him in mind. I'm not saying scoop him up right away, but I don't think he can continue playing this bad for this long. Odell Beckham, number 18 on my ranking, and Landry, number 40. Austin Hooper, number 18 on the tight end rankings. Looking at Dallas, Dak Prescott. He's going to have a field day. Yeah, I know that Myles Garrett's on the other team. Yeah, I know they can rush the passer, but he's got a running back and he's got receivers. You know, you wanna say, oh, they're gonna go off, they're gonna have a great. They're gonna. It's gonna happen this week. Dak Prescott, number 2 quarterback on the rankings. Zeke Elliott, number 2 on my running back rankings, and Amari Cooper, number 6 on the wide receiver rankings. C.D. Lamb, Michael Gallup, they're 28, 29 respectively on my rankings, so you got a little value there. And Dalton Schultz, number 16 on the tight end rankings. Dallas, get your act together. This is a great opportunity for you to springboard the rest of your season. I'm going to go with Dallas at home.
Yeah, you would like to think that Dallas is going to win this game at home, Mike. If they don't, this is going to be a very treacherous place. Like I said, you know, when we look at the division, it's awful. It's the only division in football where a losing team has the top spot. And the team, here's insult to injury. The NFC East does not have a winning team. The NFC East number 1 team in the division does not have a winning record. The team that doesn't have a winning record that's leading the division doesn't even have a name. It's the Washington football team. They don't even have a name. They're the Washington we don't know what we are yet team. A team has no name. 1-2. Dallas is 1-2. Philadelphia's 0-2-1. New York Giants are 0-3. The New York Giants might be 0-16. They might be 1-15 this season. Maybe 2-14. This division is disgusting. And the NFC West, which used to be the worst division in football, they're great. 3-0 Seattle, 2-1 Arizona, 2-1 Los Angeles Rams, 2-1 San Francisco 49ers, who just beat the Giants by allowing 9 points and scoring almost 40 on them without their starting quarterback and without the majority of their offense and defense. The San Francisco 49ers B team ran over the Giants at home. And I still think the Jets are a worse team than the Giants, which says a lot. So this NFC East is ugly. But the Cleveland Browns, they're more ugly, even though they're 2-1, which doesn't make any sense to me because you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You should have the best 1-2 punch, and in fantasy, arguably you do at running back. But they don't get it done. They don't win games in reality. Now, who should you play in fantasy? Obviously Nick Chubb. Obviously Kareem Hunt. Odell Beckham Jr. is hard to keep off, but he's a low end too. He's on one of my teams. He doesn't do much of anything for me. Maybe he gets me 27 yards and a touchdown. But he's not doing great. He needs to just give us something to remind us of what Odell Beckham Jr. used to look like, because we're not seeing it. Maybe proposing to that goalpost, maybe that changed things for him. Maybe he needs to go propose to another one. Maybe it's like peeing in the fountain in the movie The Change-Up, where until you pee in the fountain again, you don't go back to your normal self. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Maybe he needs to go propose to another goalpost so he can be the Odell that's catching one-handed passes. The value lies in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. On the other side of it, for the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott is worth the play because you know he's going to throw the ball. This man has gotten me 62 points, or something like 65 points and 72 points in back-to-back weeks. 72 and then 65 or 55, somewhere around there. It's been ridiculous. Ezekiel Elliott's worth the play as well. Amari Cooper, I like him. Michael Gallup, still a flex guy. CeeDee Lamb, a flex guy behind Michael Gallup. Dalton Schultz, not a bad play for you. The man's finally getting an opportunity, and I like it. I'm going to pick Dallas to win this game. I think there's a lot of fantasy value, but don't be surprised if Cleveland goes into Dallas and defeats the Dallas Cowboys. I'm picking Dallas, but don't put it out of the realm of your potential reality after this week. With that being said, Mike, let's head into our next game, and that is going to be, and I know my resident fan, my resident Detroit Lions fan here is chomping at the bit for us to talk about this one. The New Orleans Saints have lost to the Vegas Raiders. The New Orleans Saints haven't looked great this season, but some people had them going into the season, going into the Super Bowl. You and I have them going pretty far in the NFC. They're going on the road to Detroit. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's been difficult for the Saints because they don't have Michael Thomas. It's been difficult for the Saints because Drew Brees can't force the ball down the field. It's all dink and dunk, but that's all right when you have the number one running back in the league. New Orleans has that in Alvin Kamara, number one on my rankings. He's usually up there. That's going to be enough to bring Drew Brees up to number 19 on the quarterback rankings. Michael Thomas still going to be out. Look, they needed an Emmanuel Sanders or a Traquan Smith to step up. I don't see that happening. They're ranked in the 50s for me. Jared Cook, number 13 on the rankings. So I think it's going to be a lot of Alvin Kamara in this game. Maybe playing for Matt Patricia's job. You know, he and Adam Gase are both on the hot seat here, and I'm looking at Matt Stafford. If I asked you which of the two quarterbacks would you rather have, whether you were playing Madden, fantasy football, or an NFL game, you would probably say Drew Brees over Matt Stafford. Not in this game, and that's because Kenny Galladay is going to be making his way back to the field. Matt Stafford, 16th ranked quarterback on my rankings. Adrian Peterson, somebody's got to run the ball there. DeAndre Swift's been dinged up. Adrian Peterson, number 31 on my rankings, so that's a running back 3 or a flex play for you. Kenny Galladay, though, number 19 on the wide receiver rankings. First game back, should look good. And T.J. Hawkinson's been stepping up for them as well at tight end, number 9 on my rankings. Again, they're playing for Matt Patricia's job. They are playing at home. New Orleans doesn't play well on the road. Drew Brees doesn't play well on the road. And they don't have Michael Thomas. So you think I'm going to take the Lions at home against the Saints? You're crazy. No way I can do that. No way. I'm going to go with New Orleans, somehow figuring it out, because they got the best player on the field in Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's definitely shown up for the Detroit Lions, and I think he's frustrating a lot of DeAndre Swift fantasy owners, including myself. So, in this matchup, it's a little bit dicey because, again, the Saints haven't looked that great. They're 1-2 on the season. They defeated the Buccaneers and Tom Brady 34-23 in week number 1. Then they lost to the Raiders in the Raiders' first home game ever in Vegas, 34-24. And they lost to the Packers 37-30. So, you look at the Packers game, you go, okay, that was a good game. You lost to a good team. The Raiders, I don't expect the Raiders to be great. And maybe they're going to stun me. I said I think they're going to be one of the worst records in football, but I said, they could also somehow get to 8-8. So, it's not necessarily a horrible loss yet, but the Saints are 1-2, and they started off last season winning every game. They're going to the Lions. The Lions, so far this season, their record as they walk in here to this game, they're 1-2 as well. The Lions have a victory over the Cardinals 26-23 on the road, which I said last week when I picked Arizona. What'd I say, Mike? I said, watch Detroit go in there and win a game that they're not supposed to. So they did, 26-23. They lost to the Packers just like the Saints, but they lost by more, 42-21, and they lost to the Bears 27-23 in a comeback game for Chicago, where Chicago was down, I think, 23-6, and they came all the way back and won the game. So, some crazy things, some interesting things have happened, and, ultimately, looking at this, it's a tough one for me because I don't think it's as easy as a game as I would think it would be. I think Drew Brees on this, I'm going to say play Drew Brees. I have him as a low-end quarterback 1, but I still say play him. Arguably the best player in fantasy football right now is Alvin Kamara. So Alvin Kamara, you got to play him. Latavius Murray is still getting, as much as Alvin's getting looks and opportunities, Latavius is still carrying the ball late in the game. So Latavius is a sneaky flex player for you. And then, Traquan Smith, flex guy, Emmanuel Sanders, flex guy for me. On the other side with Detroit, I like Matt Stafford in the game. Adrian Peterson, DeAndre Swift is the third string running back behind Kerryon Johnson and Adrian Peterson. Adrian will not lay down. He was the fastest back from an ACL injury. He can't stop rolling. He did it with Washington. He's doing it with Detroit now. I like Adrian in this game as a running back too. Kenny Galladay, they say that he might not be a full go and maybe they're rushing him back. But if he's going to be out there, then I would look at playing Kenny Galladay as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Marvin Jones Jr. still somebody to look at. And Danny Amendola as a sneaky flex play. Mike said the Saints. I'm going to do it. And Johnny, you're going to love me today. I'm picking the Detroit Lions at home. I think they're going to win this game. I'm picking Detroit at home. I think Detroit has more firepower right now, and I'm going to be, and as much as they're playing against Alvin Kamara, they're playing at home in their dome, at their stadium, on their grounds, and Detroit just went out and made, they made me a half-truth. When you're watching the debate yesterday and they said, sometimes Biden and Trump told half-truths. Well, the half-truth was, I picked Arizona last week, but I told you that Detroit could go in there and win that game, and they did. So I'm going to pick Detroit in this matchup. I think it's got to get into the 30s, but a 36-30 game, I'm going with Detroit. Pittsburgh at the Titans, Mike. This game might not happen with Tennessee having a bunch of positive tests. As of right now, Minnesota has had none. So as far as the bubble works, if Tennessee, indeed, these tests do hold up positive, they didn't spread anything to Minnesota. Minnesota's supposed to play Houston, but Tennessee may not play Pittsburgh. We'll do the game anyways. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're going to end up playing this game. I'm going to lean on the positive. They only had one other player test positive here, so they're heading in the right direction here. I think it's a wait-and-see approach. Interesting that this would come up. We've seen this come up in baseball. and it's going to happen. We expected it to happen. Hopefully we're going to brush it off and move on. There's no real line on this game in Vegas yet either. Two undefeated teams, and there's no line in Vegas. You can't bet this game because of the unsure factors coming in. Look, both teams are 3-0. Both teams deserve to be 3-0. I like Tennessee a lot. People are all over Pittsburgh, though. Oh, they're the best team in the AFC North. Relax. Maybe they're the best team outside of Cleveland and Cincinnati, but not Baltimore. Well, Baltimore just got shellacked by Kansas City. Yeah, it was Kansas City. Have you watched football lately? Kansas City is a great team. So everybody relax. Everybody cool their jets. Pittsburgh's not the best team in the AFC North. Yes, they're undefeated. But Pittsburgh does have a pretty good team. I'll give them that. Ben Roethlisberger, number 18 on my quarterback rankings. James Conner, number 11. He seems to be back at full strength now. Juju Smith-Schuster, number 23 on my wide receiver rankings. Deontay Johnson's been dinged up. He'll be number 33 if he's a go. And Eric Ebron's been leading the team in yards, touchdowns, all that stuff. Number 20 on my rankings as far as tight ends. Now, Tennessee is where I think you're going to find a little more value. You're going to find value in guys like Jonnu Smith, number 6 tight end on my rankings. Derrick Henry, the beast, the man, number 7 on the running back rankings. They've been dinged up and hurt with A.J. Brown, but they still keep pushing on. They still keep getting it done. They desperately need A.J. Brown, who's dinged up from an injury. Should be back this week. We'll see. Corey Davis, number 34 on the rankings. Adam Humphries, number 47. Ryan Tannehill, number 20 on the quarterback rankings. Tennessee plays excellent special teams. They play excellent defense. They seem to be always where they need to be, when they need to be. If this game goes off, and Tennessee, mind you, doesn't have open facilities now. They can't practice. They can't do any of that stuff. Everything's going to be virtual, and they still may play a game without getting together physically for a practice until the game. It's almost unheard of, but this could be the case. I'm still going to take Tennessee at home against the Steelers.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good game, and hopefully everybody stays healthy and stays well so we can get this game off. But the Steelers at the Titans, 2-3-0 teams, two teams that can find themselves potentially, going toward the playoffs and whatnot. And it's like, playoffs? But it is true that this is something that could happen for these guys. I'm going to go with Tennessee in this game as well. I think that this is a really, really good game. I'm happy that, Jacksonville and covering Jacksonville on one side, you're like, oh my gosh, Tennessee's good again. But, as a football fan, it's good to see this. As a football fan, it's good to see the competition and the fact that Tennessee is back on the wagon again. I like Ben Roethlisberger in this game. I like James Conner in the game. James Conner obviously has done some great things. They have a lot of talent with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland and Jalen Samuels, but James Conner is a guy. Juju Smith-Schuster, a wide receiver 2, a low-end 1 for me. Eric Ebron, worth the play. If he's going to keep, if he's going to keep getting the ball and keep getting opportunities, you can't shy away from it. Ebron never seemed to fit in Detroit, and even with Matt Stafford. And then he goes to the Colts, and all of a sudden he starts to shine, but he splits time with Jack Doyle. Now Eric Ebron just led the team this past week in a game against Houston where Pittsburgh came back, and he had more yards than Juju Smith-Schuster, caught more passes 5-4, was targeted as much as James Washington 7 times, targeted more than Juju, which was 5, and he had a touchdown. So I think you have to start Eric Ebron, and he might be available in some of your leagues in the waivers or in free agency. You got to look out for that. On the other side of it for Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, he's a quarterback too. Not a bad play for you. And if you got to pick somebody up in an injury, not a bad play. Might be a low-end 1. Could be worth the play for you. Derrick Henry, definitely worth the play for you. And Corey Davis, I have him as a wide receiver 2, maybe on the lower end. A.J. Brown is still dinged up. That leaves Jonnu Smith as the guy that I would put out there more than any receiver on Tennessee. I'm going to go with the Titans in this. I got them winning this game. Next one that we have up, Mike, before we take a step aside for a fast break, inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour. right here, presented to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. It is the place that you go to watch all the games. I've been there every Sunday, and I've gotten my Philly cheesesteak every Sunday. And I got some Wildcat wings this past week as well, the boneless with the Wildcat sauce. Awesome place. That's where I've been spending the games. I put my money where my mouth is, and I've been out at the Wildcat. So many people have as well. They have been packed up for these NFL games. They've had to turn some people away due to New York State guidelines and whatnot. So make sure that you get to the Wildcat and get there early this Sunday to watch your games and get your seat and get some great food and great drinks as well. 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And if you're going to stay at home and watch the games or you're going to your buddy's house, make sure that you order curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery from the Wildcat by calling 315-487-2222. With that being said, Mike, we're hopping into our last game here before we take a step aside. And so what we're going to do for that is we will jump into the game that we have here on the docket. And that game that we have to talk about within our confines here before we take our first step aside. After that Tennessee and Pittsburgh game that we hope goes off, the next one we're going to talk about is Seattle at the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are coming off of a victory over Jacksonville. Seattle's coming off of a victory over Dallas. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Seattle's got this dreaded West Coast to East Coast 1 o'clock game. I don't think it's going to be a factor for them. Yeah, they're a little soft in the defense, especially in the secondary, but they're 3-0. They're making it happen. I think when you look at who's got the better team on paper, you would say Seattle. But you can't discount Fitzpatrick and what he was able to do last week. Fitzpatrick looked like an all-pro guy. He looked like the old man. He looked like when you're a kid and you're 9, 10, almost 13 years old maybe, and you're starting to feel your oats, and you're like, I know, the kids are going to play the adults, and we're going to beat your butt. And then the adults don't give in because they're going to teach you a real-life lesson, and they're not going to give you a participation trophy, and they're going to wax you. They're going to charge on you. They're going to hit you. They're going to beat you up, and they're going to show you that there's a reason why they're adults and you're still kids. Well, this is what's going to happen in this game as well. Seattle's the adults. The Dolphins are the kids. Seattle, Russell Wilson, leading the way with the adults, number 5 on the quarterback ranking. Tyler Lockett, he's the man there, number 3 on the wide receiver rankings. And DK Metcalf, number 15. Man, this guy has no quit. This guy gets it done. Greg Olsen, the old man at 156 years old, he's number 23 on my tight end rankings. Running back, Chris Carson. You saw you got the knee kind of twisted under the pile there. Hopefully the NFL is going to do something about that. Turns out to be a minor knee sprain, but there's still a question if he's going to play this week. He could play. You just got to wonder, are they going to force him back with Carlos Hyde and Travis Homer? I think he's going to end up corner be on a very limited pitch count. Carlos Hyde, number 22 ranked running back on my rankings this week, and Travis Homer, number 39. When I look at Miami, there's 1 or 2 plays here fantasy-wise, but they're far from the team Seattle is, and I have question marks on Seattle. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, number 13 on the quarterback rankings, he's going to have some yards, possibly a touchdown, but he possibly is going to have some interceptions as well. Matt Breida, I don't know if you can start him. You can't start Myles Gaskin. He looks like he's the winner out of that backfield, number 23 on my rankings. Devontae Parker, number 22 on the wide receiver rankings. Preston Williams, maybe a flex play for you at number 46 on my wide receiver rankings. And Mike Gesicki, number 5 on the tight end rankings. So I think there's some daily fantasy play here. There's some daily fantasy value on both sides of the ball. But you got to take Seattle going into Miami. I'm taking Seattle.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I'm taking Seattle as well in this matchup. Ryan Fitzpatrick looked like a Rhodes Scholar going up the road in Florida to Jacksonville and putting on a little bit of a clinic there. But Seattle is Seattle, and Seattle played a good Dallas team. Now, Dallas has to be able to finish, but Seattle has been – they can score. Russell Wilson can run up the score. Tyler Lockett, I've underestimated you, young man, and I appreciate the fact that you have proven me wrong. DK Metcalf is the guy that I went with, but Tyler Lockett is where Russell Wilson kept throwing to. He continuously, for like every one pass to DK, there was 4 or 5 to Tyler Lockett. So Russell Wilson, definitely worth the play. Chris Carson being banged up here, questionable with a knee injury. Watch that. If he does not play, Carlos Hyde or Travis Homer. Travis Homer, I covered him coming out of the Miami Hurricanes. I would say, in my opinion, I'd lean on Homer, but both of these guys are flex guys. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are worth the play. I like Greg Olsen as well, and of course Russell Wilson. On Miami's side of it, Myles Gaskin, Mike and I told you that Mr. Irrelevant in a couple drafts ago that we told you this guy's going to end up being the starter, and he is, over Matt Breida, who used to be, in a round robin with San Francisco, over Jordan Howard, who used to be the starter in Chicago. Myles Gaskin in this game, he's not going to get you much. He's a flex guy or an extra player for you. Mike Gesicki is where Ryan Fitzpatrick goes, so Mike Gesicki would be the play for me. Devontae Parker and Preston Williams, they can get you something, but they're wide receiver, low-end 2s, high-end 3s for me. I think Gesicki has the best shot of anybody for getting you points from the Miami Dolphins this week against Seattle. Again, I'm going with Seattle in this matchup. With that being said, Mike and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You are watching and listening to the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, and we have plenty of games coming up for you right after this fast break where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time minimally. You know that when it comes to the Fantasy Football Power Hour, we might as well change the name to the Power Hours because we are here with you all the way through, making sure you have all the advice that you need for the entire week. Every game, every matchup, every team right here on Wake Up Call. We're here with you. And when I say we, I mean Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com and myself, Dan Tortora. We bond together on the fantasy football group, Winning Fantasy Football. You can watch back these videos there. You can connect with us there. You can ask us questions about your individual team there. You can put up some funny memes and GIFs and whatnot and have a good old time. It's like a giant fantasy football Thanksgiving table that's open 24/7, 365. So make sure you go to the Winning Fantasy Football group on Facebook today and join us there for some fun. With that being said, Mike and I are going through every single matchup as we always do every single week. So we're hopping right back into it, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Mike, let's go to that game with the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, traveling to Tampa. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Tom Brady to keep going. I mean, the Chargers have had a hard time recently, and I don't understand it. The Chargers are a better team. Well, they got Justin Herbert. He's a rookie quarterback. The guy seems to be performing well. They have running back. They have a solid defense. I'm totally surprised the Chargers lost.
Mike, we lost you there for a second, so I want to make sure that nobody misses your advice. What did you say again?
No, I was saying that I'm surprised that the Chargers, I don't understand how they're 1-2. I don't understand how they lost to the Panthers. They got a pretty solid defense. Yeah, they got a rookie quarterback in Justin Herbert, but I think that he's been doing a yeoman's job. I mean, throwing 330 yards and a touchdown. The problem is they let him throw the ball 49 times. Now, they have a great running back in Austin Eckler and a great wide receiver in Keenan Allen and a great tight end in Hunter Henry. So this is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to watching this one here. My question here is, are we going to see Tom Brady of old? He seems to be more relaxed. He seems to be enjoying his time here in Tampa. I think that that's contagious, and I think this is a video of him and Gronk doing some sort of little podcast type thing. That was all. I just think it's funny. I think it's great. I think he's having a good time and enjoying himself like he couldn't do before. So getting right into it, Tom Brady, 14 on my quarterback rankings. Leonard Fournette, number 32 on the running back rankings. Mike Evans, number 13 on the wide receiver rankings, and O.J. Howard, number 21 on my tight end rankings. I can't rank Gronk. It looks like Chris Godwin's going to be out, and I don't think Scotty Miller's worth the play at all for you. Looking over at the Chargers, though, Justin Herbert, he's an emergency guy for you, number 28 on the quarterback rankings. Austin Eckler, number 10 on the running back rankings. Keenan Allen, number 4 on the wide receiver rankings. And Hunter Henry, number 7 on the tight end rankings. They got the players, they got the value, they got the pay for you on the Chargers side, but I'm not going to go against Tom Brady at home in the Bucs. I think Tom Brady and the Bucs going to pull the home.
Yeah, so you have Tom Brady and Tampa Bay getting a win at home. I think this is a really good game. This could be a marquee game, actually, in my opinion. I do want to make a note here, and Mike shared it, and Greg also put something up before that, that the Steelers-Titans game is officially delayed by the NFL. So the Steelers at Titans game is going to not go off at 1 p.m. So Steelers at Titans will not happen at 1 p.m. this Sunday. So it will not happen at 1 p.m. This weekend. Now, this Sunday is going to be October 4th. So it will not happen on Sunday. But it could be as early as that Monday. So it could be played on Monday, October 5th. So it's, not one of those things where it's like, okay, this game isn't going to happen at all, or it's not going to happen for a few weeks. This game is going to be postponed from Sunday, October 4th at 1 o'clock, but could be played as early as Monday, October 5th. So just watch out for that. Mike and I have given you our advice. The fantasy advice does not change. Outside of anybody, having a positive test or being injured, we're not going to change the advice that we have for that. So just a quick note, shout out to Greg, who's always listening and watching the show, who sent us a message, and then shout out to Mike for sending up that as well. The game could be played as early as October 5th once again. As far as my thoughts on the Chargers and the Bucs, I want to go to the Chargers side first and foremost here. I said Justin Herbert we might not see him. So he might be the last top rookie guy that we're going to see, but Tyrod Taylor got hurt, so they had no choice. So Justin Herbert hasn't done bad at what he's put out there on the field. I'm not disappointed in Justin Herbert. We looked at these close games against the Chiefs and a close game against the Panthers, 21-16, and ultimately when we look at the numbers for Justin Herbert, he did throw a pick, but he was 35 of 49. You're a rookie quarterback, and you throw almost 50 passes in the game. I expect you to throw an interception. I expect you to throw 2 or 3 if you're throwing 49 passes as a rookie playing in your second game. He only threw one, and he threw a touchdown, 330 yards, and he ran 3 times for 15 yards. Not bad. Keenan Allen, the main guy in the receiving corps, Justin Herbert found him 13 receptions, 19 times he was targeted, 132 yards and a touchdown. He targeted Austin Eckler 11 times. He caught all 11 for 84 yards. So the main players for the Chargers don't change with the quarterback change. That's why in this game you play Austin Eckler and you play Keenan Allen. Hunter Henry, he's a tight end too for me. Justin Herbert, I think is worth the play if you have 2 quarterbacks. If you don't have 2 quarterbacks and your main guy is an Aaron Rodgers or a Matt Stafford or, obviously like a Pat Mahomes or something like that, then you play him. But if you have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, I think you still lean a little bit more on Joe Burrow this week playing Jacksonville. But it's not for the fact that I don't think Justin Herbert is talented. I definitely think the usual suspects are worth the play with the Los Angeles Chargers. On the other side of it, Tom Brady, he's kind of one of those, like, do you play Burrow or do you play Brady? One of my leagues, I have them both. Brady got me 41 points this past week. So I still think Brady is worth the play. They're playing at home. I like that. I like Leonard Fournette as a running back too. I like Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is hurt. Scotty Miller is hurt. Justin Watson is hurt. John Hurst is hurt. John Franklin is hurt on this team. So that leaves Jadon Mickens, who used to play for Jacksonville. Look out for this man. He's a good return player on kickoff and punt returns, and he's a heck of a wide receiver, and nobody's expecting him to do anything, and he's playing with a quarterback that makes the people that you don't know their names look like studs. So Jadon Mickens is a sneaky flex player for you this week, but Mike Evans is the main guy. And I like O.J. Howard over Rob Gronkowski. I'm waiting for Gronk to wake up a little bit here. And if he ever does that, I would anticipate that the week's going to happen, and you're going to be really pissed off that when you don't play him and he gets 2 touchdowns that week. But, I anticipate at some point we're going to see Gronk step it up here a little bit. And, against the Chargers, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be this game, but I like O.J. Howard still. And to look at their most recent victory, 28-10 on the road against the Broncos, as far as it goes, OJ had 3 catches for 49 yards, and Gronk had 6 catches for 48. He had 7 looks. So, in my opinion, you play them both. If you have both, I'd be very leery of telling you to play both. But if you have one or the other, I still think they're worth the play. I'm just waiting for Gronk to get in the end zone. That's one thing that I'm waiting on here, but I do think they're both worth the play. As far as who I'm going to take to win this game, I'm going to take Tampa at home, but I like the game, and I think that it's definitely worth watching. And we circle the games when we talk about them here on the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. This is a game that I'm circling on this screen, and I'm circling in the newspaper as well. Next one up, Mike, Baltimore against the team that has no name that's leading the NFC East. Baltimore at Washington. What do you have for this?
Yeah, this is almost like a crosstown situation. These towns are real close to each other where they play. Baltimore, though, yeah, they look like they look like a bad team. That's what happens. That's what Kansas City usually does. They make teams look bad. Baltimore has a problem. They can't win from behind. They're used to running, and when you think they're done with that, they're going to run it some more behind Lamar Jackson, behind Mark Ingram, behind this big offensive line. They're able to run the ball, muscle the ball down the field. Not so much when they're forced into passing situations time and time again. They got to play from behind. They don't play well that way. So if you want to beat Baltimore, that's the secret. Jump on them early, and then continue to play good defense and run the ball yourself. Look, there's 2 different teams here. These teams are in two different situations. Baltimore is near the top, and Washington's near the bottom of the NFL. Baltimore is where you're going to find all your value in this game. And they're led by Lamar Jackson, number 1 on my rankings for quarterbacks. Mark Ingram, number 30. J.K. Dobbins, not enough consistency for me to put him in the starting lineup. Marquise Hollywood Brown, number 26 on the wide receiver rankings, and Mark Andrews, number 6. He seems to be a guy that always gets it done. I like Mark Andrews a lot. On the other side, Dwayne Haskins, number 31 on the quarterback rankings. Antonio Gibson, really the only solid answer they have at running the ball right now, 28 on the rankings. Terry McLaurin, number 20. Now, him and Haskins, he and Haskins were in college together at Ohio State. This is something else, how they're able to pull this off. And Terry McLaurin is a guy I like to always be on the lookout for, a deep ball to McLaurin. He can make one or two guys miss. That's it. He's taking it to the house. Number 20 on the wide receiver rankings. And Logan Thomas coming out of nowhere, number 15 on the tight end rankings. Look, there's just not enough value. There's not enough good players. The one thing Washington does have is a good pass rush. They have a good defensive line. I think the offensive line for Baltimore is better. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be able to let Washington use that speed on the defensive line, but use it to Baltimore's advantage. Step up more in the pocket and then run on the breakout. I think Baltimore's going to win this game easily.
Yeah, I don't have any worry or concern for Baltimore in this matchup. They're pissed off. Lamar Jackson, seeing him on the sideline, when they had their game against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs won the game 34-20, and it, begged the question, can anybody beat the Chiefs right now? I think Green Bay can make a play for it. I mean, that's one of the teams that I kind of circle when it comes to playing the Chiefs. But, ultimately, seeing Lamar Jackson's face, knowing the type of competitor he is, covering him in college when he was at Louisville, I know that if I'm Washington, if I was anybody right now playing Baltimore, I wouldn't want to play them right now because Lamar Jackson wants to make a statement. And guess what? You're at the other end of his exclamation point. You're not on a good end of this thing. He's trying to make this statement. You're on the wrong side of the barrel for this. I got Lamar Jackson in this game. You got to play him. You got to play Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, I think is a running back 3 or a flex guy. You got to play Hollywood Brown. Of course, you got to play Mark Andrews. On the other side of it, for the Washington football team, they have Dwayne Haskins, which it's not working out with. Antonio Gibson, I'm sure they miss Adrian Peterson at this point. They got him for peanuts on the dollar. They kept him for 2 years. I don't know why they let him go. But Antonio Gibson, I guess, is worth the play for you in this, if I had to pick anybody. Not a big fan of their tight ends or their wide receivers because there's no guarantee that the ball is going to get out to them. So I only feel good about saying Antonio Gibson, and I only feel good about him as a flex player. I'm picking Baltimore easily in this victory. I don't have too much of an issue whatsoever with Washington. And, I don't know. I don't feel like they're going to do much of anything right now. So it's Baltimore all day. And Lamar Jackson, this could be a 4 or 5 touchdown game because he's pissed off and he wants to win. Arizona at the Carolina Panthers, Mr. Sofka. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, well, both teams have something in common here. The Panthers won a game last week they shouldn't have won. And Arizona lost the game last week they shouldn't have lost. So hopefully that trend won't continue if you're an Arizona Cardinal fan. Look, Arizona's got the guns. They got the young talent. They got some veteran talent there. They're exciting to watch. I don't know how you can go against Arizona in this one. I'll just tell you right now, I'm going to take Arizona, and that's behind Kyler Murray, number 3 quarterback on the rankings. Kenyon Drake, number 17 on the running back rankings. Look, he's been a disappointment so far this year. I've seen guys in a league, people telling me that people are dropping Kenyon Drake. I'm like, that's crazy. Some people spend a first or second round pick on the guy. Look out in your league. Always surf your waiver wire. Always do that during the week. See who's making stupid moves. Maybe you can be the beneficiary of somebody else's stupid move. But right now, Kenyon Drake, number 17 on the running back rankings. DeAndre Hopkins, stud, making himself known, getting together with Kyler Murray. He's the number 2 wide receiver on my rankings this week. Andy Isabella, a distant 43, and Dan Arnold, a 31. Your big money plays there, of course, are DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Now, when I go over to the Panthers, not so much. There is some bright spots, though. There's a bright spot behind a guy not many people knew who he was, and that's Mike Davis. Well, CMC's out for a little while. Mike Davis stepped up and in. He's number 6 on the running back rankings this week. DJ Moore, number 9 on the wide receiver rankings. Robbie Anderson, number 17 on my rankings as well. Ian Thomas, a distant 32. Teddy Bridgewater, middle-of-the-road guy, number 17 on my rankings. Look, I like Arizona in this one. I think it's not going to be a contest. Arizona.
Yeah, I think for me, I got to go with Arizona in this matchup as well. I think Carolina has some good stuff. I think they have some. Obviously, DJ Moore has done some things, but this team's made a bunch of they're they made a bunch of mistakes. Curtis Samuel has not turned out to be the player that people anticipated and hoped that he would be. That's not something that's happened. You don't have Christian McCaffrey right now, which is hurting you. You let go of Cam Newton, which seemed like a really stupid move. So, ultimately, I don't think Carolina's atrocious, but I also don't lean on Carolina to be a playoff team that's, an incredible team by any stretch of the imagination. They're 1-2 right now, and as it stands, the Carolina Panthers they've defeated the Chargers on the road, and they lost to the Raiders and they lost to the Bucs. So not, terrible losses because the Raiders have shown up in this first couple of weeks, but still, I got Arizona in this game. Kyler Murray, again, a team that's coming off of a loss like you were talking about, Mike, that they shouldn't have had. I like Kyler Murray. I like DeAndre Hopkins in this game. Kenyon Drake, a low-end one. Chase Edmonds, flex guy for you. Dan Arnold, because they're playing Carolina, potentially a tight end 2 for you. If you got 2 of them, maybe you put them out there. But I heard somebody say DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, it was on another show. They said, DeAndre Hopkins is eventually he's gonna drop off. He's not gonna keep being this good. Apparently, they don't watch football because DeAndre Hopkins went to Arizona, and after not having a preseason and not having a normal offseason, DeAndre Hopkins in his first game had over 100 yards. He looked like he had known Kyler Murray forever. He looked like he hadn't left Houston because he had a good matchup with Deshaun Watson there and a good opportunity of a 1-2 punch. DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins. He's a plug-and-play guy. He could play. He's shown that he can play on, he could play in the Midwest. He could play on the West Coast. He could play with this team. He could play with that team, this offense, that offense. Doesn't matter. DeAndre Hopkins, whoever thinks that he's not going to continue to impress, I don't know what football they're watching, but it's not the NFL. I like Kyler Murray, and I like DeAndre Hopkins. Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, Dan Arnold, they're options for you, but they shouldn't be your top ones. I think Kyler can still be a top one, and obviously DeAndre. On the other side of it, Mike Davis. They got to run the ball with somebody. I like him as a flex player this week, though. I don't see him as a running back 1 or 2 for you. Robbie Anderson, I like him more than DJ Moore. I like them both in this matchup as wide receiver 2s. Ian Thomas, if you have a 2 tight end situation, maybe you put him out there, but I'm not sold on Ian Thomas as of right now. The next matchup that we have is the old team that is reeling from the loss of DeAndre Hopkins, Mike. I don't know why anybody's surprised that Houston's losing. I didn't think that they would be 0-3, but I most certainly thought that they would miss DeAndre Hopkins. They have Minnesota coming into town. What do you have for this one?
Well, yeah, they miss DeAndre Hopkins. Anybody would miss DeAndre Hopkins. But those who are downplaying the Texans, relax, take it easy. Look what they did. Week 1, they had to go into Kansas City. That's a loss. Week 2, the Ravens come to their house. That's a loss. The 2 best teams, arguably, in the NFL is who you opened your season with. And then you went on the road at Pittsburgh and lost by a touchdown. So everybody that's a Houston Texans fan that's got the noose ready, they're ready to jump off the bridge there on the way to the stadium, relax. Just relax. Houston's going to be fine. Houston's going to be fine because they have some players. And when I say some players, Deshaun Watson, you can't keep a good guy down very long. He misses Hopkins. That's a fact. But he's going to get it done somehow, some way, and he's going to get it done this week against the Vikings, who are miserable. 2 0-3 teams, but 2 teams that are on different trajectories. Deshaun Watson, he's the number 6 quarterback on my rankings this week. David Johnson running the ball, number 13 on my rankings. Look, Deshaun Watson's going to have to throw the ball to somebody. It's probably going to be Will Fuller, number 29 on the rankings. Brandon Cooks, number 39 on my rankings. And Jordan Akins, I like him above Darren Fells, number 25 on the tight end rankings this week. Looking at Minnesota, there's some value here. There's some plays here, especially in daily. Dalvin Cook, number 4 running back this week. Adam Thielen, number 14 on my ranking, with 175 yards and a touchdown. Great job by the rookie. I think he's a flex play for you this week. Don't get overly excited here is what I'm saying. Kyle Rudolph, number 34 on my rankings, and Irv Smith, number 42 on my rankings. Kirk Cousins, been having a miserable time of it, though. Number 22 on the quarterback rankings. Look, there's some bright spots on both teams, but when you look at team to team and you look at what these teams have done, who they've played, and how they got to where they are now, I have to go with the Texans at home.
Yeah, and Mike, we just got a question really quick here, and I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, but just a direct question here that we got fantasy-wise. Who would we start between Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers when the teams face each other in Green Bay on Monday night?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute, but I would think that I would go Aaron Rodgers above Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers seems to be clicking right now. Alan Lazard seems to be playing a little better. Hopefully he'll have Devontae Adams back. Aaron Jones is playing out of his mind. And Matt Ryan's got a bad defense. And we've talked about it time and time again. People underestimate the fact of having a good defense on your team makes you a bad quarterback. They get you out of bad situations you put your team in, and they can help you if you put your team in a bad situation. So I got to go with the team with the better defense. I have to go with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree, and we're going to get into that a little bit more, but I know that we had somebody pop in here quick, and we're happy to answer your question. So with that being said, Mike's taking the Houston Texans. I'm going to take them as well at home. And I'm taking the Texans because, again, I think that people are, they're they're starting to freak out about Houston. And, again, like Mike said, you played the two teams that I expect to be in the AFC Championship game, Baltimore and Kansas City. You played them in the first 2 weeks. That's not an easy road by any stretch of the imagination. Houston Texans' strength of schedule pretty damn high in that respect. So I'm not looking at Houston thinking, oh my goodness. Now, if you're a Jaguars fan, you're loving that Houston's 0-3, but you got to start winning some games and take advantage of that. It doesn't mean anything if they lose and you lose. So, that's something to look into for Jacksonville. But, did I expect Houston to be 0-3? No. But did I expect them to lose the first two games? Yes, I did. So, on Minnesota's side of it, not a big fan of Kirk Cousins right now. You got to play Delvin Cook and Adam Thielen as a low-end 1, high-end 2. That's all I like from Minnesota. On Houston's side of it, again, people saying DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be that great throughout the whole year. They also say that about Deshaun Watson. He's not that good. He's not going to do a lot of good things. I can't do anything without DeAndre Hopkins. Deshaun Watson's a talented player. He's a top 4, top 5, top 6 fantasy quarterback in the NFL. So I like Deshaun Watson in this game. I like Will Fuller the fifth. I would tell you to play those two guys, and that's really it for me. I got two guys on one side, I got two guys on the other side, and I'm going to go with the Houston Texans because they're at home, and I think that they can get this win from Minnesota, who I don't anticipate is going to put up a lot of points in this game. I think Minnesota's got some issues, and I think they're going to get exposed in this matchup, and I have Houston winning it. The New York Giants, some New York Giants fans are sitting here going, can we please just, mail in the rest of our season like a mail-in ballot? You're not going to get it for a bunch of weeks. You won't be able to count it, but we can at least say that we did it. That's what they want to do at this point. The Giants are playing up against the Rams. The Giants have to go to the West Coast, and the Giants are awful. They are awful. They lost to San Francisco's B team, as I said. Mr. Sofka, is there any hope for the Giants? Is there any hope for the fantasy football side of it for the Giants? Or is this all L.A. chomping at the bit?
Yeah, that's just a bad situation right now. When you have somebody come in from the left coast on a 1 o'clock game, minus 9 starters, and put a shellacking on you by 25 points, you got problems. You got more problems than we have time for this in the show. I can't even begin to address the problems that the Giants are having. The one good thing they can hang their head on is it's a lot worse on the other side of the stadium, sharing that MetLife Stadium with the Jets. So they're the 31st best team, not the 32nd out of 32 teams. The Giants got troubles. They got troubles, and that starts with Daniel Jones. Hasn't played very well. Number 21 on the quarterback rankings. They don't have a running back. Dion Lewis is the only guy I can really rank. Devonta Freeman should be up to speed. Haven't seen anything from Wayne Gallman. Dion Lewis, number 56, and he's leading the running backs for the Giants. Golden Tate, he should be all the way back. Darius Slayton. These guys are wide receiver 3s, ranked in the 30s on my rankings. And Evan Ingram, the one bright spot, number 14 on the tight end rankings. Look, the Rams know what it's like to be down. They were down by 25 points. They almost pulled it out against the Bills. But you got to wonder, does that galvanize your team or does that hurt your team when you come all the way that far back and you fall just short? Well, Jared Goff is not going to let that happen this week. Number 12 ranked quarterback on my rankings. Malcolm Brown still dinged up, still hurting a hand. Darrell Henderson had a coming out party last week. Number 21 on the rankings this week. Malcolm Brown, a distant number 40. Cam Akers still dinged up. Cooper Kupp, number 8 on the wide receiver rankings. Robert Woods, number 12, and Tyler Higbee, number 11. So there's going to be a lot of passing in this game, a lot of passing points. There's some value daily in this game from the Rams. I think the Rams are going to roll up on the Giants just like the Niners did, the Niners JV team. I like the Rams big time in this one.
Yeah, I like the Rams in this one as well. I don't think it's any secret. Based on how Mike and I have been discussing what's been going on, I definitely think the Rams are going to get this victory. I think they're going to get it handily, and I don't think that they're going to have much of an issue with anything in this game. The fantasy value obviously lies on their side. For the Giants, there's nothing to write home about. I don't think Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback, and I covered him when he was at Duke, and I love his head coach's ability to get the best out of those guys, and David Cutcliffe, who had both Mannings, who both won multiple Super Bowls. There's nobody on the Giants that I could tell you to pick. If I had to pick one and say you got 2 tight ends, go with Evan Ingram. But even that is hard for me to tell you with a straight face and believe it. The Rams, I think in this game, Jared Goff's worth the play. I think Darrell Henderson Jr., who's out there in free agency, I'm confident he is. Go out and get him. Play him in this game. Coming out party finally. I told you about him last year coming out of Memphis. Nothing happened. And guess what? Now he has the opportunity. Cam Akers is hurt, and he was supposed to be the guy. Malcolm Brown, who's been on the team out of Texas for a bunch of seasons, he hasn't done anything until now. But Darrell Henderson, it's very early in his career, and it's ripe for the taking. And he got over 100 yards rushing. And this is going to be after you have a 100-plus yard rushing game, you get to play the Giants at home in your new stadium. This is perfect for Darrell Henderson. Play him. Cooper Kupp, play him. Robert Woods, play him. Higbee, play him. Because the Rams are going to have a heyday with this one, and you better play that defense and special teams. Because I feel good about it. So I'm going with the Rams as well. Mike, next game that we have up, the Patriots at the Chiefs. Cam Newton is not surprising you or I in his ability to move this team forward. I called them a playoff team. You called them a playoff team. I said that they could probably make the playoffs without Cam Newton because they have Bill Belichick. And he figures it out. He takes no names and turns them into stars that people are buying their cards on eBay for hundreds of bucks, maybe thousands of bucks. So the Patriots are winning with Cam Newton. They're looking good with Cam Newton. Dare I say it, they're looking better than I thought they would look right now. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. What do you have in this one?
Yeah, how can you not like Kansas City? What they're doing is just phenomenal, going all the way back to last year. Pat Mahomes continues to play out of his mind and impress. But Bill Belichick, whenever you go against Bill Belichick, regardless, he's going to throw the best at you. He's going to chip away at your weakness. He's going to accent on his strengths. He's going to put his players in a position to win. It's just I'm not sure if he can do that against Kansas City. The Patriots only lost so far coming on the road at Seattle by 5. So I think this game could be a lot closer than people think. Kansas City, though, is where you're going to make your money. Of course, you know that. Patrick Mahomes, number 7 quarterback on the rankings. CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, number 8 on the running back rankings. This guy does it all. He can catch a deep pass. He can run a wheel route, swing. He can do there's not a thing I've seen that I go, wow, he can't do that very well. This guy does it all. Tyreek Hill, number 5 on the wide receiver rankings. Just when you count him out, he's going to bust a long one on you. Tight end in the game, but you know that already.
Oh, Mike, we missed you on that one. We were talking about Kelsey on that.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, number 1 tight end in the league. You know that already. If Travis Kelce's on your team, he's a must-start every week. He's probably number one every week, and, of course, he's number one this week. On the other side of the ball, there's some value, though. You're going to find some daily value. You're going to find daily value in Cam Newton. Cam likes some Cam. You could see him cringing when Rex Burkhead was getting those short touchdowns, but that was the right team thing. I think Cam's game has come full circle. Number 10 quarterback on the rankings. Julian Edelman, number 11, and N'Keal Harry, number 30 on the wide receiver rankings. I like Julian Edelman a lot. He was going as deep as like the 10th or 11th round in some drafts I saw. So Julian Edelman definitely making money for his owners. And Sony Michel, number 53 on the rankings. Again, you don't know. I don't think Rex Burkhead is going to run for another 3 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. James White's going to be rolling back in. So I can't trust New England running backs. I can trust Bill Belichick, but not against the Chiefs in Kansas City. The Chiefs are going to win this one, but it's going to be closer than people think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a primetime type of field game. Cam Newton is Cam Newton, and Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. And that makes for a dangerous combination that the NFL allowed to happen. These teams had a chance. There was 30 other teams that could have picked him up when Carolina let him go, and they didn't do it. So, you can't blame anybody but yourself in that respect, as Cam Newton is doing good things inside of New England. I got Kansas City winning this game, although I think it's going to be a fun game. I think Cam Newton is worth the play. Sony Michel has definitely dropped off. Rex Burkhead is a good flex for you in this matchup. Julian Edelman as well as N'Keal Harry. You could play each of them. I think Julian's a wide receiver 2. N'Keal Harry, wide receiver 3, in my opinion. Like I said, Burkhead a flex. On the other side of it, for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's play the house. It just is. It's play Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, put him in the game. Tyreek Hill, you know it already. Sammy Watkins as a low-end wide receiver 2. Travis Kelce's worth the play in this matchup as well. And if you got to dig really deep in a deep league, Demarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman, maybe you put them out there as a flex if you got to go really deep in like a 16-team league or whatever that may be. But I think, this game's going to go to Kansas City, but I think it's going to be a really great game to watch. Buffalo going into the Raiders' home. The Raiders have raided other people's homes. The Raiders won their first game in their home, and now they have the high-flying, hot rod, Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills. What's going to happen in this one?
Yeah, I like Buffalo a lot. I like Josh Allen a lot. He's been playing MVP caliber ball. He's been spreading the ball around. He's had the fortunate situation of having Stephon Diggs fall to them. He out of nowhere, he's the free agent signing, number 16 on my wide receiver rankings, and he's really helping stretch the field. He's really helping Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has been getting it done on his own. Josh Allen able to spread the ball, able to throw it to the tight end in the end zone, able to run for first downs. Josh Allen, number 4 on the quarterback rankings this week. Zach Moss still dinged up. Devin Singletary, number 20 running back on the rankings. Dawson Knox, Tyler Croft. I can't count on those guys. Those guys are number 30 and 46, respectively, on my rankings. But I look on the other side of the ball, and I say if I'm Buffalo, hey, it could be worse. You could have the Raiders receivers. Look at the Raiders receivers. They're all hurt. Henry Ruggs dinged up. Brian Edwards just put on IR. Hunter Renfrow, we've talked about him in the past. He's going to have a chance to shine, but take it easy. Temper your expectations. Number 36th ranked wide receiver on the rankings. Darren Waller's where their money is made. That's where you're going to make your money too in daily. Number 3 tight end on my rankings. Josh Jacobs, phenomenal job. Well worth the first round pick. There's a couple drafts I was in. I was like, wow, I want Josh Jacobs, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad I took him. Number 5 running back on the rankings. Derek Carr, number 29. I don't think he's playing as well as he can, but he doesn't have any receivers. The offense relies on Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. Talking the Bills, even in your house, I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo inside of the spaceship as well. I got Buffalo winning this game. Buffalo is just too hot. They're too good right now. I have them as the number, when we did the preseason and Mike and I told you what we thought the playoffs would be, who would win each division, and then who would go on to, who would win each division, who would be 1 through 7 as far as the seeding for the AFC, the seeding for the NFC. We gave you all of that, and we told you who's going to make the AFC and NFC championship games, and we talked about the Super Bowl. I got the Bills as the number 3 seed winning the AFC East. This team is hot. This team is good. This team is strong. They are 3-0. I like what they have to offer. I know the Raiders have done some good things and come out looking better than I thought that they would, but they're playing a real deal Buffalo Bills team. You play Josh Allen. You play Devin Singletary. You play Stephon Diggs. You play Cole Beasley as a flex. He might be out there in free agency for you. And Gabriel Davis, he probably is out there in free agency, and he is worth a pickup because they're going downfield to him, and they're doing it against a defense like the Rams. So make sure you look at him in the matchup. Dawson Knox is banged up, so you got to watch out for that. He's questionable with a concussion. That means Tyler Kroft might take over. That's a sneaky play for you at tight ends. But like I said, I like Diggs, I like Beasley. Singletary, my favorite one of all the bunch, is Josh Allen right now. On the other side of it, you play Josh Jacobs and Hunter Renfrow. Maybe a Darren Waller, a low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end. Mike and I, with that being said, are going to take a step aside for our final fast break of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us every Wednesday to go over all the fantasy football matchups, brought to you by the Wildcat on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus. Once again, you can call them for curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. With that being stated, Mike and I will be back right after this for Sunday and Monday Night Football.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacted the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Mike and I are jumping into our Sunday and Monday night games for you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios right here. Head to CafeKubal.com for information about the mobile cafe and local delivery and how that can come to you. You can also go to WakeUpCallDT.com and go to the Central New York tab and click on Cafe Kubal to get all the links and information as well as the form for the mobile cafe to come to your neighborhood or place of business. And, of course, they have their 5 locations for you all throughout Syracuse, New York. We will be at the 324 West Water Street location, the Creek Walk Commons Cafe, tomorrow morning for a wake-up call in the normally scheduled hours of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We'll be right there with Carl Sanfilippo, the Baldwinsville High School football coach, hanging out there at Cafe Kubal. So come see us downtown for your morning cup of joe or for the DT Special Pumpkin Spice Chai right there on site at Creekwalk Commons, 324 West Water Street in downtown Syracuse. With that being said, Mike and I have 2 games left on the docket for week 4, and I hand it off to Mike for Sunday Night Football. Mike, what do you have for Philadelphia at San Francisco?
Yeah, well, Philadelphia gets my oof of the week. And what I mean by that is, how do you let a rookie QB come into your house and put a tie up on the board? You kissed your sister in this one. I didn't like that game at all, Philly. And you know what? I look at what you've done. You let L.A. come in. You let the Rams come in and beat you in your house. And then you went to Washington, that awful team, and you lost there. I don't know what you're doing. I look on the other side of the ball, and I go, well, San Fran, yeah, they lost their opener to the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are a pretty good team. But the Cardinals just lost the game they weren't supposed to lose. Then I look at the 2 most recent games, and I'm like, well, they were against the Jets and the Giants. Big deal. Well, it is a big deal. If you went on the road for a 1 o'clock game with 9 of your players that were out, 9 of your starters, so I'm going to give the edge to the 49ers here in this one. I'm looking at the 49ers, and Jimmy Garoppolo may be back for this game. He's been dinged up. He'll be number 24 on my rankings. Raheem Mostert should be back for this game as well. He's been dinged up. Jerick McKinnon filled in nicely, but now he's dinged up. Jeff Wilson is a guy that you could play maybe as an emergency flex, but Mostert not more than number 31 on the rankings coming back from his injury. The wide receiver I like best right now, Brandon Ayuk, but he's no more than number 41 on my rankings. Look, I think George Kittle is going to be back this week. I think anytime he's on the field, you got to have him as the top 5, and he is. He's number 4 on my tight end rankings when I go on the other side of the ball. That's the only spot I really see daylight over there. Well, running back as well. Zach Ertz, number 2 on the tight end rankings. Nobody to speak of on the wide receiver rankings. Deshaun Jackson's dinged up. Jalen Reagor dinged up. Maybe a Greg Ward, number 53. That means he ain't playing on your team, I should say. Miles Sanders, number 9 on the running back rankings. And Carson Wentz, who's been playing abysmal, number 23. But I can't really put all the blame on Carson Wentz. He doesn't have anybody. He does have a good running back now. Miles Sanders back for a second game from injury. And Zach Ertz, steady Eddie, as long as Ertz ain't hurts, because Dallas Goedert just went down. I think Philly will look okay, but not enough to beat the Niners, not enough to do it in San Fran. I'm taking the Niners.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Niners in this game as well, and I'll run you through here quick on my side of it. Miles Sanders is worth the play in this matchup, in my opinion. Zach Ertz with Dallas Goedert hurt. He's worth the play as well, as Goedert was starting to take some stuff away from him. So I like only a couple players on Philly. If Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, and George Kittle are to go, you play them all, and I like Brandon Ayuk as well as a wide receiver 3. I got San Francisco winning. Final game, Mike, Monday Night Football. What do you have, Falcons at the Packers?
Yeah, I like the Packers. I like what Aaron Rodgers has been doing. It looks like he's finally secure in that offense, and the Falcons are just the opposite. Falcons got problems. They got defensive problems. They were ahead big time again and lost. They let a bench quarterback. Now, I know it was Nick Foles come in and throw 3 touchdowns and take the victory away, snatch the victory from the jaws of defeat there. You got to go with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is playing well in that offense. He's adjusted. He's comfortable. He's the number 9 quarterback. He's got the great running game from Aaron Jones. Felt the pressure when they took A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones has been unstoppable. Number 3 running back on my rankings. Devontae Adams should be back this week. Number 10 on the rankings. Alan Lazard did what he could. He'll be a flex play for you because a lot of the targets are going to go to Adams. And Robert Tonyan. Jay Sternberg, who? Robert Tonyan seems to be the guy they're looking for in the end zone. Number 27 on the tight end rankings. On the other side of the ball, there's not as much value. Matt Ryan's going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball in this game to play catch-up because they're going to be behind. Matt Ryan, number 11 on the rankings. Calvin Ridley, number 1 on my rankings. Julio Jones, number 37. You can see the passing of the torch there. Hayden Hurst, number 12 on the tight end rankings this week. Todd Gurley, lacking the burst, lacking the speed, lacking the punch. You see an increase in Brian Hill. That brings Todd Gurley down to 26 on the rankings. Brian Hill at 57. I like Green Bay big time in this game. A lot of points, a lot of fantasy points in this one. Should be exciting Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you on the Atlanta side, Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones is banged up. So watch and look at that. He's questionable with a hamstring. Like I said, that's something that's been nagging. You don't want to mess with that. I like Calvin Ridley in the game. Hayden Hurst, not a bad play in this one as well. I have him as a tight end too. Todd Gurley I have as a low end running back too. On the other side, Aaron Rodgers, play him. Aaron Jones, play him. Devontae Adams is still banged up, so watch that if he's able to go. He also has a hamstring injury like Julio Jones. But Alan Lazard, I picked him up last week. Huge for me because he's the number 2 and Devontae wasn't playing. So look at that. And then Robert Tonyan as well, worth the play in this. I have Green Bay. Mike, as always, I thank you so much, and I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, sounds great, Dan. Thanks. Speak with you next time.
All right, that coming from Mike Sofka, Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. I want to thank Julian Wiggum for our first part of the show, as well as the Wildcat Sports Pub and everything that they do, and Mike Sofka on his side. Join us on the Winning Fantasy Football group on Facebook. We'll talk with you soon. God bless. And tomorrow we will be on site, on location at Cafe Kubal, 324 West Water Street for this show. Come out and see us in the morning and have some fun with us. In the meantime, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk with you soon.